All right. Hey there. We are live now. If you can hear me, great. If not, somebody say something. Let me see. We'll wait for some people to join. If you have some questions, type them in the chat. All right, we've got somebody on. What we'll do is we'll answer the questions that are submitted live first. Just as a courtesy to everyone who is live, and then we'll hit the questions that were sent in via email or text chat or whatever else it is. So we do have some cool news to share too. Once more people get on, we'll be happy to start there. So we've got 2 people on. Let's see. Anybody got any questions? Type them in. I can't see actually who's on. I don't believe. At least I don't know how. Maybe, but I'll figure it out, I guess. All right. So have we got any questions, or I'll just start hitting the questions that were sent in. Let me pull those up. I'll be looking off to the side a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to start with the questions, and if you guys have any questions, you are welcome to type them in. I'll be checking the chat. I'll answer the live questions first. So first of all, welcome everyone to the next live. I will answer your questions. I'll answer the live questions first. We'll wait for people to join, but I'll start with some of the sent in ones. So John Adams says, should I be concerned about my low heart rate? My Apple Watch indicates that my resting heart rate is around 42, but when I sleep, my heart rate drops into the 37 to 35 range. It doesn't really affect me, except on occasions I'll get a little lightheaded when I stand up quickly from sitting down for an extended period of time. I'm not really sure how accurate my watch is. I've read different things. Some people say it is accurate. Some people say they aren't that accurate. So what are your thoughts on this? Okay, so first of all, yeah, those watches, for the most part, are pretty accurate at getting your heart rate. Now, sometimes they're not. That's the thing. They're pretty good at detecting irregular heart rates too. There was a study that came out. I think it was specifically on the Apple iWatch. That said it's pretty accurate at picking up atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heart rhythm. So if John, and if you're a young, pretty athletic person, I wouldn't worry too much if your heart rate's in the 40s and 50s. Most people, when they sleep, their heart rate gets even lower. If you're overweight and you have sleep apnea, then yeah, I would be concerned. People with sleep apnea can have lower heart rates in the 30s, even sometimes even lower than that when they're sleeping. But I wouldn't be too worried about it if it's in the 40s or upper 30s or whatnot. So that would be the answer to that question. Like I said, if you're joining us now, I'm doing some of the questions that people sent in, but you're welcome to post questions in the chat. The next question is from Radar. I don't know how to pronounce that. My triglycerides are elevated. Is there anything I can do to lower them? I've been very good from a nutritional standpoint. I occasionally eat out. I think he or maybe she does fast food. I'm pretty consistent with my workouts, but every year my test shows very high levels of triglycerides. I use olive oil, peanut oil for cooking mostly vegetarian with some chicken for protein. I can't figure it out. So this is a really good question. Triglycerides, generally when they're elevated, it's usually a sign of some type of metabolic disturbance, and especially uncontrolled diabetes. Usually the number one cause of elevated triglycerides is uncontrolled type 2 diabetes, and I would highly recommend getting that under control. Now, there are some things you can do to lower that. Number one would be to lose weight. I don't know, you said you work out consistently, but you didn't say if you're overweight or not. Weight loss definitely helps with your entire lipid profile, is, especially triglycerides. Those kind of dip down first before the rest of your lipid profile improves. You'll notice your triglycerides sort of go down first, even with small amounts of weight loss. Trying to get this microphone situated here. The next thing I would say is, if you're not on cholesterol medications, until you accomplish that goal of getting your weight off and getting to a good diet, you definitely want to probably take cholesterol medications, probably something in the statin medications. They do lower all of your cholesterols as well as triglycerides. But I said, like, without knowing you, if you're in the chat, please raise your hand or say something. But without knowing more about you, how young you are, how old you are, it's kind of hard to tell. If you have multiple risk factors for heart disease, then yeah, you probably definitely need to be on something. If you do not have multiple risk factors for heart disease, then definitely go the lifestyle route. Try to lose weight, eat even healthier than you already are doing. Definitely the elevated triglycerides is a sign of type 2 diabetes. I would start there. The next one is Kimberly. I'll skip the last names on most of these if they didn't put their last name on there. Where is it? I was told that I cannot use creatine if I have a family history of heart disease or while taking statins. Is this true? So no, this is not true. Creatine is super safe. It's been around for 50, 60 years now. Tons and tons of research on it. If the rest of you guys who don't know what creatine is, it's a molecule that it's a creatine monohydrate. It gives ATP back a phosphate, so that you can keep lifting. If you're weightlifting, you get one more rep, one more set, slightly heavier sets. You can increase the weight a little. If you have heart disease, there's really no correlation there that I know of. I don't believe I've seen anything on that. So definitely you should be completely safe taking. A lot of people ask me, my teenager wants to take creatine. Is that okay? Yeah, for the most part it is. I know I started taking it when I was 14. But definitely that's something you can do. And then a lot of people ask me, can women take creatine? Yeah, you can definitely take it. It's really not been associated with anything. Next question is from Jennifer. My mom died of multiple strokes in her mid-60s. What tests should I have run on myself? So this is a really good question. Without knowing more about your mother, and if you're in the chat, please say something. But the biggest thing will be finding out if she was a smoker. If she was a smoker, then yeah, sure. Smoking plus really bad genetics could give you multiple strokes in your 60s. Now, if she was a smoker and you're not, you probably don't have a lot to worry about other than just getting your cholesterol numbers checked. And if they're high, or if they've been high your whole life and you're a little bit older, like 50 or 60 or more, you probably should be taking a baby aspirin every day just to prevent that. It's very good at preventing first-time strokes. I know the guidelines and the data and the research and people keep going back and forth on aspirin for primary prevention, but you and your situation would kind of be one of those cases where we're like, you know what, mom had multiple strokes, wasn't a smoker, daughter isn't a smoker, similar cholesterol, similar genetics, probably should be on baby aspirin. But that would be one way to do it. Like I said, without knowing more about your mom, I can't really answer that question. Now, if she was a heavy smoker, didn't take care of herself, obese, hypertensive, and didn't get her blood pressure under control, diabetes out of control, all that stuff, then all that adds up. Bad genetics plus lots of risk factors is obviously a terrible combination. So that may be what happened there. But if you're telling me your mom's otherwise super genetically or super healthy and athletic and runs marathons and all that, and then had a bunch of strokes in her 60s and died, then there's a lot more worse genetics than we know. She could have one of these things like familial hyperlipidemia or something. Courtney's asking, for my husband, can you realistically combat high cholesterol and poor genetics without the use of statins? So this is a good question. Can you realistically combat high cholesterol? Yeah, you can combat it. You can try to. There's been lots of studies done. One of the best studies that they did, they took 20,000 people and had them run 3 times a week, at least 5 miles a day, or like 2 to 3 miles each time, 3 to 4 times a week, and not eat saturated fat or cholesterol or anything like that. And at the end of the day, the people that did the best in the study lowered their cholesterol by about 10%. That was the average, not the best. The average was 10% reduction in cholesterol, LDL, all that stuff. The best people in the study reduced their cholesterol by 15, 16%. But right around 10 to 12% seems to be how much you can lower your cholesterol by doing lifestyle changes. So you're for your husband, I'd say, yeah, you can try to combat high cholesterol, but I would also say how high is high. If your husband's cholesterol is like 180, 200, 210, I would say, yeah, you can combat it with lifestyle changes. If his cholesterol is like 250, 260, 280, then no, you really need to be on something. And you're saying he has poor genetics too. I'm not sure what the poor genetics part of it is, but I'm assuming that he has really high cholesterol is the poor genetics part. So definitely, I would combat it both. I would attack it with the lifestyle changes, as well as probably statins. Now, we have other medications. Statins aren't the only meds available for combating high cholesterol, so please talk to your doctor, and we can talk about that later. Zane is in the chat, and Zane says, hello. Oh, hello, Zane. If you have questions, like I said, I'm taking the live questions first before I answer the ones that were sent in. Next one we have, let's see, who's this? Jason. I was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, approximately 12 centimeter. Oh, I thought I said 12 months ago. No, 12 millimeter septal wall. One doctor wants me to be on beta blockers forever, and the other wants me off of them. Pros and cons. Are there certain risks moving forward? So, 12 millimeters is not that thick. So hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, it's your heart muscle. It's thick. It gets thickened. Like, say this is one of your muscles. It gets a little bit thicker. So up to like, 9 to 10, 11, 12, millimeters is not that big of a deal. It's not that thick. On this model heart, maybe I'll show you guys here. This is the model heart. This is the septum. It can get too thick sometimes. And that's that condition where athletes drop dead. It's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. If you have that and it's really thick, we're talking like 30 millimeters, 35, 25 to 35, somewhere like really high, plus a history of dying, sudden cardiac death, then yeah, that would happen. But at 12, probably not going to happen. At 12, it's probably reversible. Most of the people that come in with a septum like that, it's probably because of uncontrolled hypertension. You just need to get on blood pressure meds, and that will probably come down, and you'll be just fine. Next question, Linda. Was the demonizing of saturated fats warranted? It's kind of a loaded question. I don't know why people think saturated fats is like this loaded question that's like so complicated and difficult to answer, and no one's telling the truth about it and all that. Look, the data is there. Every once in a while, you get some people who have an agenda. They're like, oh my God, that Alan Keyes 7C's study from the 1950s and 60s showed this, and that. Well, look, that was in the 1960s. That was like 60, 70 years ago. We now have, hey, Vicky, how are you? Nice seeing you as well. We now have 60 to 70 more years of research on saturated fats. And without question, saturated fat intake directly correlates with elevated cholesterol, and especially LDL, the bad cholesterol. And there's no question at all in the science that elevated cholesterol leads, or highly correlates, however you want to put it, leads to cardiovascular mortality and cardiovascular death. I mean, that's just not a question anymore. So I'm not sure why people are afraid to answer this question. We know with absolute certainty that at LDL below 57, you're not going to have a heart attack or stroke. It just doesn't happen. And we know the higher your LDL, the more likely you are to have a stroke, and the more likely you are to have a heart attack. So yeah, saturated fat definitely raises your cholesterol. And if you're not sure and you want to read one single study about it, look up the Finland study. The Finland study, maybe I'll post some of it in here. The Finland study, let me type this in here real quick. The graphics from it are pretty cool. Even just this one study by itself. So I'll explain it first, and then maybe I'll show you if I could share my screen, maybe. But the Finland study, North Karelia, there's this area in northern Finland. It was a rural area, kind of like a farm town, that they had 700 deaths per 100,000 people living there, which was the highest in the world at the time, the highest amount of death. So the government, wanted to figure out what on earth's going on and how can we improve this. So they uh, went to North Karelia and figured out, they eat a lot of butter, bacon, cheese. It's a rural community. They eat a lot of lard, lots and lots of saturated fat. Their cholesterols were super high. They smoked a lot. Almost 80% of the men smoked, and something like 30-40% of the women smoked at the time. This is in all 1970s, 1972. Their blood pressures were, in the men, their average was like 180, something ridiculous, and a lot of times it was over 200. Lots of different factors. Obesity was a big factor. I said, you know what, we're going to have a multi-pronged approach. We're going to attack this thing from different angles, and we're going to try to reduce cardiovascular mortality in North Karelia. So they did. They went in there and started educating people, cut out saturated fats, get your blood pressure under controls, try to lose weight, stop smoking, blah, 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 whatever. Within they follow these people out all the way even up to now, but even up in 2018. But pretty quickly, you saw an 84% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. 84%. So what they did is they expanded that program to the rest of Finland, and you ended up with almost a 90% reduction in mortality. There's almost nothing in medicine or any interventions or anything we can do that reduces mortality by 90 some odd percent. Very, 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 very rare. And so they looked at what led to that 90% reduction in mortality, found that the vast majority of it came from the reduction in saturated fat, which they said was about 40% of it. 20% came from lowering blood pressure, and a few other percentage points here and there for like obesity and smoking. They didn't actually lose weight. Weight stayed about the same. They actually gained weight. And then the smoking cessation efforts, the men did smoke less. The women actually increased their smoking, but then dipped back down again. So that was a really cool study. We have now tons more studies on this. Cholesterol really isn't a debated issue, at least not in medicine. I mean, maybe you listen to these people on Instagram or Facebook or something, and they're like, oh my God, I love saturated fat. It's so good for you. It's a healthy fat. No, it's not. Furthest thing from the truth. But anyway, so I hope that answers your question. If not, just drop in a message or a follow-up question if you want. Next question. I have two teenagers. I have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old. Oh, kind of sounds like me. I have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old, but I also have a 7-year-old. So can I work out with my kids, especially strength training? We've read all the things online where people say that strength training at a young age can impede growth or height or stature. Is this true? So we used to think that, I don't know, this was some kind of myth that spread a lot, where people thought if you start weightlifting at a young age, that suddenly magically you're going to get shorter, you're not going to grow, it's going to ruin your growth plates. They've now debunked these studies. You can totally work out. My 7 and 9-year-old work out with me all the time. They lift weights. I mean, we don't do anything crazy. The amount of weight that it would take to destroy your epiphyseal growth plates is ridiculous, and no child should be doing that. There's no 7-year-old that should be squatting 400 pounds or whatever it is. They play around with the weights, they lift them, just getting used to the movements. My older two kids, the 12 and 14-year-old, definitely lift weights more like an adult. They don't go crazy lifting super heavy weights, like they're not trying to die. But they lift weights, they push themselves. I make sure they're doing it and they're doing it correctly with the proper form. I always tell them, try to lift the most amount of weight you can with the proper form. Now, this is not a 1 rep max. This is like for the amount of reps they're doing. So if they're trying to do 8 to 12 reps, I'll talk about your thing in a second here, Vicky. So if they're trying to do 8 to 12 reps and they're picking a weight where they can do 8 to 12 reps, I want them to pick a weight that they can do 8 to 12 reps in proper form, with the proper form, so that they're actually working out the correct muscles. There's no point in like doing a lat pull down if you're pulling it in front of you and you're basically working out your chest. It's a lat pull down. You want to use your lats. It's got to be behind you, or like you're rowing it backwards almost. So that is very, very important with your kids. All right, so Vicky is saying, oh, wow, interesting. Just what does atorvastatin do for your health / cholesterol? So atorvastatin, or any statin, they're an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor. This is an enzyme in your liver that basically stops your body from transforming hormones like cholesterol and things like that. So it stops producing them. Basically, it blocks a very important step in the production of cholesterol. 85 to 90% of your cholesterol comes from your liver. It's not cholesterol that you ingest. Only about, now maybe even less, but it's like 5, maybe 10, 15% of the cholesterol that's circulating in your system actually comes from food you ingest. Although now that less things have cholesterol in them and people are not eating as much cholesterol, so we're not seeing as much in the food that we take, but 90% of your cholesterol is from your liver, and saturated fat signals that. And HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors, or statins, block a very important step in that pathway, and they're one of the few drugs that has been associated with a tremendous reduction in cardiovascular mortality. And there's other ones now. We have different ways of blocking cholesterol. We can block the LDL receptor now. We can the prescription fish oil, EPA, now also reduces cardiovascular mortality and, surprisingly, all-cause mortality. That was a very interesting study when it came out. We wanted to reduce cardiovascular mortality, and it turned out it reduces all-cause mortality too, which is like if you were going to get hit by a truck, the chance of that goes down too. All right, so let's go to next question. Harris is asking, oh, it's a really long one. Oh, my wife gave birth. 5 days after giving birth, she went to the hospital. They found sepsis, group B strep. She had open heart surgery because it damaged her valve. They repaired the valve. They didn't have to replace it. They repaired it. All that being said, my wife wants to get back to strength training. So here's the questions. Would there be any limitations for her to perform strength training exercises after she fully heals due to the repair of the sternotomy? So that's a good question. Sternotomy, for those of you who know, is that cut down the middle of your chest for open heart patients. That's they put wires, and it takes a really long time to heal. That bone is not as vascular as other ones, so it takes a little bit longer to heal. Most bones, like you break your arm or something, it takes 6 to 8 weeks, and it's pretty much 90-95% healed. The sternum, though, takes a lot longer. I mean, I've seen people 7-8 months out, and it's still, not fully healed, and it's got a little bit of shifting to it. So yeah, but your wife should be able to do anything strength-wise not involving the sternum. So bench press might be tricky, but definitely squats, deadlifts. Well, maybe not deadlifts, but squats. Overhead presses, maybe just start slow and go up. I would say deadlifts should be okay, depending on how you perform them. But yeah, there should be no reason to worry about that. I would definitely try to do that. So mitral valve repairs, to make sure she goes to cardiac rehab. I know Monty on here went to cardiac rehab after having aortic valve replacement, so we'll talk to him about that. But yeah, definitely do the cardiac rehab. It's a great program, gets you stronger, gets your heart stronger, and having valve surgery qualifies you. The next question: would you recommend for her to same person? Would you recommend for her to start any specific program? Is there a special program? Well, I could type one in. I have an exercise program. If you just go to Dr. Allo, go to my YouTube and just type in exercise program, it should be there. You can download the whole thing here. Let me just type it in. For those of you who watch this later without the chat feature being live, I'm not sure why that's red, but I guess you could click it. But if you're watching it later, just go to dralo.net/exercise. That'll take you to my exercise program. You can download it. You get access to it. It's an online portal. You get the PDF of the exercises, the schedule, the timings, how to do everything. And then you get a long video. You get access to a really long video that demonstrates all of the exercises. So I would recommend that. Also, I would say if she wants to focus more on legs, my leg and glute program is pretty awesome. I'll put that in here as well. If you go to dralo.net/glute, I believe it's glutes. Let me type that in here. Yeah, it's .glute. DRALO, dralo.net/glute. That'll take you to my leg focus program that is supposed to help you grow your glutes and legs while not also ignoring your chest and back. So she'll probably have to ignore chest for a while. When I had rotator cuff surgery on my shoulder, I basically couldn't do anything upper body for like 3 to 4 months, even longer. Like I really couldn't lift chest presses or anything for a really long time. Even now, it's like it's not 100% back to normal, but she should be fine. She can do the leg stuff while trying as much as possible to do some upper body stuff without injuring her sternum. And it'll tell you, you'll feel the pain or you'll feel it like kind of moving or whatnot. And next question. Anne is asking, I would love some guidance or parameters on bodybuilder, high output athletes with regards to cholesterol numbers. Hormone replacement therapy for menopause seems to have affected my cholesterol, while some may attribute it to being more high protein, high fat, autoimmune, and food allergies. This is a healthy option for me. If body composition is good with solid lean body mass, what type of leeway can one have? So this is a really, really good question. You obviously have like overweight patients that they can't get away with as much, kind of like what you're saying, Ann. The more overweight you are, the less you can get away with because you're metabolically not in a good place. You're obese, your inflammatory markers are elevated, you're not healthy metabolically. If you are, for the most part, healthy and you're pretty lean, and it kind of sounds like that's what you're saying, if my body composition is good with solid lean body mass, what type of leeway can one have? So it sounds like you're pretty lean if you got a lot of lean body mass. And I don't know how lean you are, but it sounds like you have a lot of muscle. The leaner you are, I'll put it this way, the leaner you are, the more in terms of saturated fat you can get away with. Now, if you're eating more chicken or, like you said, higher fat or more protein, if you're eating more fat, your cholesterol, depending on what kind of fat it is and the composition or the amount of it, your cholesterol is going to go up a little bit. But like I said, if you're pretty lean, it's not as big of a deal. That reminded me, the question earlier about saturated fats. There was a group, and this blows my mind why this group even did this. There was a group in October 2019 that decided to publish their own guidelines on saturated fat. They took one study. This is the stupidity. Like, this is why we shouldn't look at one single study. But they took one study where they looked at reducing saturated fat, and they found that it really didn't make a difference. But if you read the study, they reduced saturated fat from 12%, 11% of total calories down to like 9-10% of total calories. That's ridiculous. That's literally like not even a change. Back when they did the North Karelia study in Finland, the percentage of total calories for saturated fat, like if I was eating, let's say 2,000 calories a day, in the beginning of North Karelia, 23 to 24% of my total calories were saturated fat. It was super, super high. By the end of the study, they got it down to 10% or less. So now you're taking people with like 10, 11, 12% and reducing it by 1 percentage point, saying, oh my God, makes no difference. Well, sure, it's already super low. I mean, if you have like $12 in your bank account and you reduce it to 10, you still barely have any money in your bank account. I mean, that's what we're talking about here with that study. And I have no idea why this group decided to publish this. They're not the American Heart Association. They're not the American College of Cardiology. It was some random group that decided, well, saturated fat is no longer a big deal. Yes, it is. That's, like I said, that's like saying, well, today I had $11 in my bank account and I reduced it over the span of the next 3 months to $10 or maybe 9, and nothing happened. I didn't have a heart attack. I didn't have a stroke. You know, barely anything happened. Well, sure. Like, you barely even changed your numbers. I mean, 10% of total calories is 10% of total calories. If you're off by a percentage point here or there, it's really not that big of a deal. You're not going to see a difference. Don't go around telling me, well, then saturated fat, it's no big deal. Fine. Take those people. You want to do a real study. It's unethical because you would kill people, but go take those people that are eating 10% of their calories from saturated fat and increase it back to 25%, and then see what happens. Your mortality will go back up 85% or whatever it was. It was 84% reduction, so it'll probably just go back up, 84 points, which we don't ever want. It would be unethical. No one would do that study. Vicky's asking, your exercise program is very helpful. I use it all the time. Since I am a heart patient, it helped me do the right exercises and not trying to overdo it. I love that, Vicky. That's exactly what I designed it for. There is a video for it. I'm sure you've already found that, though. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you have questions. I obviously love answering questions. So I hope that answers Anne's question about the what kind of leeway you can have. Let's see, was there any other questions that I'm missing here? Some of these are really long and I'm trying to shrink them down. One of the I was watching this is kind of off topic. I was watching an interview with a cardiothoracic surgeon. I'm not going to mention his name or call him out, but he actually said this. He's like, yeah, now that saturated fat is no longer an issue. Like, dude, what are you talking about? Saturated fat is an issue. He probably read that stupid new guideline in October 2019 and believed it, but he probably didn't actually read it. Yes, saturated fat is an issue. That guy, I mean, this interview was like over an hour long, and there's so many things wrong with it. I feel like I should probably do a video about it. But he was this guy that was on this keto kick, and he read Gary Taubes' books, and holy smokes, he thinks Gary Taubes has got some magic formula, and everyone should just eat loads of fat and loads of protein, and that's how you lose weight. I mean, sure, that can work because initially it reduces your caloric intake, but that's not going to work long term. All the studies show that none of these crazy restrictive diets have long-term efficacy. Not only that, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard to do. Plus, if you look at him, he's still like pretty overweight. He's definitely not lean by, I mean, sure, he talks about how he was morbidly obese before, and now he's lost a lot of weight. Congratulations. Super happy about that. But definitely, he's still pretty overweight. I mean, I don't know what the point he was trying to make with the whole keto diet thing, but I think he was trying to sell a book. I don't remember. But anyways, it was a really, really long, drawn out lecture or interview actually with this other crazy doctor. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that. All right. So any more questions? If there's no more questions, I'll see if we have any more here. Let me open up just this one other file. Somebody said they sent something. Let me look here. Okay, here's one. This one is good. This was sent in by Iman. Dr. Allo, I know you always talk about having a good relationship with food, but I think I have a really bad relationship with food. Can you just clarify what you mean by good or bad foods or having a good or bad relationship with food? Okay, so this is a really good question. You're right, Iman. I definitely talk about this a lot. A good relationship with food means that you are not afraid of food. The biggest problem I have is people like when they start going on a restrictive diet and they have this mindset of like they're at war with food. Like everything is bad. I'm going to a birthday party and it's going to all be bad. It's going to be horrible. I don't know what to eat. It's all pizza and pop and ice cream and it's bad. Like you have this horrible relationship with food. Whereas if you had a good relationship with food, you could view pizza and pop and ice cream as foods that may not be nutritious as a huge salad. However, they have nutritional value. All foods are composed of macronutrients. They're either made of carbs, protein, and fat, or some combinations. Some are more protein and fat, some are more carbs and protein, some are more whatever. But my point is, food is just food. I also don't like assigning moral value to food, that like pizza is evil. It's bad for you all the time. All pizza is bad. Or kale and quinoa is always great. Kale and quinoa is magical. It's beautiful. It's amazing food. No, food is just food. Stop assigning moral value to food. If you go to my mindset course, which is actually free, I'll put that in here too. Go to drallo.net/mindset. You can watch the mindset program. It's a free course, but it's basically like more food. Food is not moral. Food is not either good nor bad. You cannot have like foods that are evil. But if you have that mindset where you're always at war with food, and you don't have a good relationship with food, you're gonna always be battling against food and fighting food and hating yourself and hating food. Like everything becomes a war. Like, oh, we're going to the movies today. Oh my God. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? I can't go to the movies. I can't go to the movies. I'm just going to make up an excuse. I'm just going to tell my friends that I can't go. I'm just going to say this, that, and the other thing. Like, no, food is just food. You don't have to view food as this thing you're always at war with or always battling with. Like, it's just food. Just enjoy it. There's literally nothing wrong with food. People also have a bad relationship with exercise. Oh my God, my scale. I looked at the scale today and I gained 2 pounds or 1 pound or whatever, half a pound. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do legs today. And then I'm going to do the stair climber for 8 hours and I'm going to burn 10,000 million steps or whatever it is. Like that's having a bad relationship with exercise. So you can't have a bad relationship with food. And you shouldn't. And if you do my mindset course, you'll learn a lot about that. But you also shouldn't have a bad relationship with exercise. That's just a horrible existence. Like because you gained half a pound or you ate pizza last night, now you're going to go to the gym in the morning and pound yourself and beat yourself up and like punish yourself. You shouldn't punish yourself with exercise or food. Okay, I ate too much today or whatever it is. I went over my calories. I'm not going to eat anything tomorrow till midnight. Like, come on, just stop. So I always talk about having a really, really good relationship with food and a really, really good relationship with exercise. Those two kind of go together. Welcome to the new people who joined. Pop your questions in the chat box. But yeah, you want to develop a really, really healthy and not just healthy, but a good relationship with food. Having a good relationship with food, good relationship with exercise, all super important. I posted the mindset course there. That's a really good way to start with that. But yeah, I like the question, Iman. If you have a follow-up, go ahead and post it. Vicky says, I will also say your weight loss book is very helpful too. I hope everyone will look at your videos, read your books, and trust your advice. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate it. Yeah, actually, that was I was going to announce some good news today. We've had on Amazon. Let me click on here. I'm looking at the screen. We've had about 300 sales of books on Amazon, and this doesn't include the PDFs, the digital books. I think we've had almost 200 of those. So that's pretty cool. I never thought that writing a book would sell that. I thought I was writing it for a very niche audience, which was going to be doctors who want to give something to their patients to say, hey, look, here's how you actually lose weight without restrictive diets, without developing a bad relationship with food, without this, without that. Here's a cardiologist, personal trainer who knows the science and has been doing this for like 20 years now. But it's obviously got some mass appeal, and I've been getting tons and tons of messages and pictures from people. Hey, Doc, what are your thoughts? Okay, this is Anthony Gonzalez. Hey, are you a former football player for Ohio State and then the Indianapolis Colts? But anyways, oh, thank you, Vicky. Vicky says it's a very good book. Anthony asks, hey, Doc, what are your thoughts on donating blood and reducing heart disease by doing so? So I'm not sure. I don't know. I have not seen any studies that have shown that bloodletting, or I guess that's what you could call it, but like donating blood would reduce heart disease. Now, there are some people that have hemochromatosis where they have really high iron levels. And if they don't donate blood pretty consistently, their iron levels build up and then get deposited into all their tissues. And one of them is your heart. And you can get diastolic dysfunction, which your heart thickens. Like we'll go back to the heart model, but this is your heart muscle. The metal deposits, the iron deposits inside the muscle and in the ligaments and tendons that kind of hold it together. And it makes the heart less compliant. So normally your heart squeezes and then relaxes. This makes it so it doesn't relax as well. At least that's the first stage of the badness that happens from hemochromatosis. So if you have hemochromatosis or certain diseases, then yeah, Anthony, donating a lot of blood frequently definitely helps. But for a normal person who does not have hemochromatosis or any of these other kind of diseases, donating blood frequently, I mean, it may condition you because you're slightly less hemoglobin. You might be like hypoxic conditioning, like as if you went to Denver. If you go to Denver and you run on the mountains, for a few days, you get this hypoxic conditioning. But you can also buy those like hypoxic conditioning masks from Amazon or any workout store. They got these masks that reduce oxygen so that you don't get as much oxygen. It reduces oxygen by a little bit so that you kind of feel like you're in Denver. You feel like you're a mile high, and it helps your overall conditioning. But a normal person just donating blood to reduce heart disease, that just, there's no studies or evidence that shows that helps. But definitely hemochromatosis, if you do have that, you're not just preventing heart disease, you're also preventing liver disease and skin disease, and like wherever the hemochromatosis, wherever the iron deposits, you're preventing that. So that's one condition that definitely helps that. Post your questions in the chat. We'll answer those first, and then I'll hit these ones that have been sent to me earlier. Anthony's follow-up says, lol, I wish I was that Tony G. Yeah, I wish, right? He was a hell of a player, man. Number 11, Ohio State, did really well. All right, awesome. Thank you for answering my question. Thoroughly enjoyed you on Monday Pump. I think he means Mind Pump. But yeah, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Mind Pump. Let me see if I can find that link for everyone else. Dr. Allo, Mind Pump. I was on this show called Mind Pump. It's a podcast. It was on YouTube as well as their if you just go on Mind Pump, there's the YouTube one. There's the channel there. Hey, Amina. Oh, it's okay if you're late. So that's my link to the Mind Pump podcast that I was on. Great group of guys. You can obviously find them on Mind Pump podcast.com too. I'll pop that link in here. But I love the guys at Mind Pump because they're very in tune with like the same philosophy, especially when it comes to like having a good relationship with food, good relationship with exercise. How much exercise is too much? How much exercise too little? They're not cardiologists, obviously, but they do go over studies. They know their exercise. They know their fitness. What I like too is they know human behavior. They know human behavior really, really well. Amina, if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them out. I've been answering some of the live questions as well as some of the ones people sent in. But yeah, that's the thing I like about Mind Pump. They got a lot of good stuff and they're pretty reasonable. They're not too out of the science-based realm. Every once in a while they'll have a guest on there that's a little bit whack. Ben Greenfield, for example, he's just way out there. He there isn't an affiliate he wouldn't sell. Those aren't my words. Those are what everybody just says about him. The guy's got like just about anything you can imagine. He sells it with some kind of affiliate link, and I'm sure he does well, but I just don't think I would do that. So Amina's asking, do you think Noom plan works for weight loss? Thinking about trying it, but it's really pricey. So look, Noom is similar to a tracking app, but it has like these psychological incentives almost. So like if you're under your calories, it might be green, or if you ate a salad, it might give you a boost of this. I have had patients do it. It's definitely pricey. How much are they charging nowadays? Back then it was just like $5-10 for the whole year. I wonder how much it is now, I guess. But definitely it does give some psychological triggers and incentives. And their whole philosophy is that we've figured out this whole way to trick your mind, maybe not trick your mind, but help manipulate your mind into like losing weight. Oh boy, it's $175 a month now. What have you tried? I mean, like what else have you tried? I don't want you to go down this route of paying a lot of money for something that you could probably do on your own. Let me ask you this. What have you tried before? I wish we could put people on here live. I don't know. Can we bring people on here live? I think we can do that with Instagram. Maybe we'll do that later. But so here's the thing. I don't know what you've tried, but just in general, for the vast majority of people, a calorie deficit works. Calorie deficit means you are just reducing caloric intake. What I tell people to do is download a free app like MyFitnessPal. Download MyFitnessPal, plug in your age, weight, sex, and height. Just use the free program. You do not have to pay for the expensive version. The expensive version adds a few more things like with nutrition timing and whatnot, but you don't need that. Just buy the free app, put in your age, weight, height, and sex and all that. Tell it what you want to weigh. Tell it what you weigh now, and it does a bunch of calculations. And I found for the vast majority of people, MyFitnessPal works pretty well. The only thing I would do is adjust the ratios of carbs, protein, and fat to 40, 40, 40. I typed it in here for you, Amina. It's 40, 40, 20. 40 protein, 40 carbs, 20 fat. Now, for most people, that puts you at about 1 gram of protein, 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass or per pound of body mass. And that should work. I find that MyFitnessPal gives people way too little proteins. They give you like 20% of your calories as protein, 20% fat, and the other 60 as carbs, which is fine. You'll still lose weight. But I find if you want to preserve lean body mass and not lose muscle or maybe even gain muscle while doing it, you got to up your protein. So I'd go 40, 40, 20 on that, protein, carbs, and fat. If you don't feel like messing with it or can't find it, don't worry about it. Just leave it alone. But the calorie counting thing works. It kind of depends on your starting weight and age, really. So I usually tell people multiply your weight by 10. So let's say you're 200 pounds. That would be 2,000 calories a day. That should cause weight loss for most people. It may or may not. Okay, so good. You added some more info. Let's see. My mom and her sister got gastric sleeve surgery. They lost all of the weight, but I don't want to get surgery. I'm 190 pounds. I'd like to get to 140. Okay, so you're 190, 43 years old. I could do some quick calculations for you. Let me tap in here for a second. This get you. I think you've given me more than enough info to figure this out. Let me just type this in here. We're giving you some custom stuff here. I'm gonna just give me a second. I'm looking down because I'm looking at my phone. Are you doing resistance training by any chance or not really? I'm just gonna assume no, but if you do, it's just bonus. Oh, how tall are you? 43, 193. Oh, I'm sorry, 190. I'm gonna assume you're 5'2". I would guess that would be. I mean, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. It all really just depends on your weight. Oh, 5'6". Okay, let me go back. That's a little bit taller. So that may make a slight difference. All right, let's see what we've got here. So according to my calculations, and MyFitnessPal would probably be pretty close. You're looking at about 1,500 calories as a severe deficit. So like I said, if you just multiply your weight by about 10, you should be close. I'm saying 1,850 to 1,900. The issue with going, so here it is. So for females, because their metabolism is just slightly slower, you might not notice the deficit might be so small that you're not noticing enough of a difference. Like you go all week and you lost 0.2 pounds. You could do that all year and you probably lose 20 pounds, right? But because you're only using half a pound a week, it's imperceptible. So you kind of lose interest or you think it's not working. So I would say go somewhere between 1,500 and 1,900. 1,900 should cause weight loss. I picked a severe deficit for you in my calculator, but 1,900 should cause weight loss. It's unless you are already like eating way less than that. Okay, now we're getting here. Wow, that's a lot of calories. Okay, so are you one of these people? For some people, they're eating so few calories that they need to actually up their calories. So okay, let me just read some of what you've been typing while I'm talking. I don't want to miss anything. My mom and her sister got gastric sleeve. Okay, I already read that. Anthony, I'll get back to you in a second here. I'm 5'6". I use resistance bands and kettlebells. Well, that's a lot. I do like 14 to 1,500. So have you lost weight at 14 to 1,500? I'm assuming no, and that's why you're here. So some people eat too little calories. Like if you're under 1,400 and you're a female and you're an adult female, that's really, really low. And you actually have to increase calories. You have to do something called a reverse diet. I don't think I have a video myself on reverse diet, but I do have a video on something called metabolic adaptation. Let me find it for you. Hello, YouTube metabolic adaptation. Here's the video for you. Copy the link address. So there you have something called metabolic adaptation, Amina, which you're eating too few calories and you're exercising like crazy. So you have to stop doing some of that and you have to increase your calories. You got to try to get to 1,800 or 1,900. It's a mind F word. It's you don't want people like are like, oh my god, I can't eat 1900. That's crazy. I'm gonna gain so much weight. The weight's gonna go on. Blah 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 blah. Okay, just ignore your mom. Now listen to me now, because clearly what you're doing is not working, and your mom ended up with gastric sleeve. So listen to me. Here's what you got to do. Let's say you're eating 1400 calories a day. Add 100 calories every 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, you'll eat 1500. 2 weeks after that, it'll be 1700. The 2 weeks after that, it'll be 1800. And then eventually, when you get about to the 1850, maybe 1900 range, you'll start to see the weight come off. So just do that. Check back in with me. I don't know if are you on my email list at all? If you're on my email list, you could just email me. But just go to drallo.net/free and just sign up for something free. My exercise program, for example, I posted it up. Just scroll back in the chat. The exercise program, drallo.net/exercise or drallo.net/glute. Just get on there and you can reply to any of my emails and I'll answer you probably within 30 seconds. I mean, unless I'm like doing something else or seeing patients, but I'll answer you like almost immediately. But just scroll up a little. I don't know. Here's the exercise one. I'll just copy this again. Just click on any of these, put in your email address. Oh, no. You just scroll up. There's drallo.net/exercise/glute/mindset. All those things are very, very helpful. But definitely just get on there so that I can actually see your stuff. But look, I'm telling you, check back in with me. I want to know in 2 weeks that you increased your calories. Now, here's the thing. I mean, now you're going to be mad because your weight initially is going to go up. You're deprived of calories. When you're deprived of calories, you are short on glycogen. Your muscles are normally used to store glycogen. Now, there's not a lot of storage space, but glycogen is a form of energy that can be stored in your muscles. And when you're calorie restricted as much as you are and have been for so long, you have not that much glycogen sitting in your muscles. When you start eating more, your body's going to store glycogen into your muscles and your water will follow. For every gram of glycogen, 3 ounces of water follows. So most people, when they start this reverse diet, which is what you're going to be doing, it's called a reverse diet. And you can YouTube it. There's a lot of videos on reverse diet. But what you do is, you do what we said, add 100 calories every 2 weeks or so, or do like 50 a week. Do 50 this week, go up another 50 next week, et cetera, et cetera. But you're going to gain about, for most men, 5 to 8 pounds, maybe, like just right off the bat. For most women, 4 to maybe 6 or 7 pounds. Do not freak out and don't even weigh yourself if you don't want to, but you're going to gain weight, especially once you're like 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks into it. But usually right off the bat, once you increase calories, you're going to gain a little bit of weight. Don't give me that face, Simon. If you want to lose weight, you got to do this. Think of this as a long program. I'll get to your question in a second, Talha. But think of this as a really long process. I mean, this is not like a 2 to 3 month get rich quick scheme where you're going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Like, we can cut off your leg and you can lose 30 pounds in 1 day. But you don't want to do that. This is like the long haul. There's no shortcut. This is how to do it properly. And in even gastric bypass, whoever's done that, or sleeve or whatever, that's not a permanent solution. Every single one of my patients that's had gastric bypass or a sleeve gastrectomy or any of these things, they are still pretty overweight. Some of them morbidly obese still. There's a handful that I can count on one hand that are like close to ideal body weight, but none have gotten to like the 120 or whatever you said you want to be, or 140 maybe, I don't remember. But either way, you got to do this. Watch that video that I just linked up there. Get on my list so you can email me your questions and updates. I'd love to hear how you're doing, but this is what you got to do to actually lose weight. Don't listen to anyone else, because clearly they are not losing weight. So back to Anthony. In your opinion, is the equation of triglycerides/HDL a good indicator of preventing heart issues? I've read a few studies that say under 2 is optimal. Yeah. So 2.5 or lower, the ratio, 2.5 or lower is the ratio where plaques start to regress, where heart disease starts to regress. And that's kind of where we want to be. So that's definitely a true formula. So definitely try to do that. Triglycerides are kind of hard to lower. They usually indicate, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think you were on yet, Anthony. But triglycerides usually indicate metabolic health. You're overweight, your blood sugars are high, your diabetes is out of control, all that kind of stuff. So we want to try to get that all under control. Now, are there people who are very thin and in great metabolic health but have high triglycerides that is genetic? Yeah, but that's genetically bad metabolic health. It's not because of choices you've made or being obese or overweight or whatever. Talha, what are your thoughts on creatine? So yeah, creatine is an awesome supplement. I tell people that you only need 3 supplements, the 3 teens: caffeine, creatine, and protein. Those are the 3 teens. The 3 teens are the only supplements I ever use or take. I drink coffee in the morning. I get in lots of protein, including with shakes, because protein is huge. And creatine, I take like 3, maybe 6 milligrams a day. So yeah, definitely do that. You usually for protein, Talha, you want to get about 1 gram per pound of lean body weight. So for most men, that's around 140, maybe up to 180 grams a day. For most women, it's like between 80 and 120, 140 grams a day. Amina says, my oldest sister got sleeve and she's back to being overweight. Yeah, that is the same. So there's differences in the kinds of gastric bypass surgery. The sleeve definitely does that the most. There's other kinds. There's the Roux-en-Y. The Roux-en-Y has the best long-term outcomes of people losing a lot of weight quickly and keeping it off for a long time, but it has way more complications. You get short bowel syndrome. You don't absorb nutrients. You have all kinds of problems with that. So it's kind of tricky. Pick your poison. But honestly, I think, Amina, for you, at least you owe yourself to try this. Definitely just try this reverse diet thing, add 50 calories a week, and keep me updated. I'll be more than happy to work with you and help you out with this. Anthony says, thank you, sir. No, man, thank you. Thanks for being here. It's always nice to meet a famous NFL player. All right, if we got any other questions, I was going to go back to the ones that were sent in, but I don't know if those people are actually on here. If you're on here and you sent one in, raise your hand. I'll read one of them. Thanks so much. Yeah, of course, you're welcome. Okay, so I'll just read one last question. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. Last question. Here we go. Oh, this is related to something I talked about on the other podcast. I have a friend who is still overweight, works out like crazy, doesn't eat properly, and injects testosterone and anabolic steroids. Do you think this is a good solution? I'm not sure what that's a solution for. Yeah, so the problem with anabolic steroids is that if you don't know how to work out and eat right, then you're kind of just wasting them. They're not really helping you, and they're putting you at risk. If this is something you're taking whopping doses of something that you don't need, you are increasing your risk of all kinds of things. And some of them we don't know, and some of them we can't test because it's unethical. Like you cannot take, like a lot of people say, well, the testosterone has been studied and cardiovascular risk is lower. So yeah, testosterone's cardiovascular risk, it's a U-shaped curve. If your testosterone is really low, you have increased cardiovascular risk. But as your testosterone level goes up to the normal range, your cardiovascular risk is the lowest. But then at these people that are injecting whopping doses, their cardiovascular risk goes back up again. Now we can't test the amount that bodybuilders inject sometimes because it's just whopping doses and it's unethical. They're like 1 gram a week or 2 grams a week or just crazy doses. We cannot actually test that ethically in a lab. We can go by what people say or do like these retrospective analysis where we ask them, hey, how much did you used to use? Things like that. But there's no way really to test that. But no. So your friend that's doing the anabolic steroids, he probably should work on getting his diet. Let me move my microphone a little. Work on getting his diet straightened out first. I mean, if he's lifting weights all that much and he's not eating right, you're not going to see any of those muscles. So whether he's building them or not, I mean, if he thinks the anabolic steroid alone is going to help him lose weight, it may. There have been studies that show that simply just injecting anabolic steroids does cause fat loss and lean body mass gain. But sounds like your friend is also overeating, so that doesn't really help. Amina says, I've been looking at your videos. Thank you. Very good. You're welcome. That's why I put them on there. So hopefully people can learn. All right. So I think we have time for maybe one more question because I know we started about 5 minutes late while we were waiting for people to hop on here. One of my friends says she's taking pills to lose weight. Is there some magic pill or prescription to help people automatically get fit, lean, and healthy. So no, there's nothing that's going to make you healthy. Now losing weight will make you healthier. I actually did an entire video on this topic. Let me find this. Medications for weight loss. There's actually medications that are approved for weight loss. I'll post this in here. There's no magic pill or supplement. Here's the thing, like anybody selling you supplements like this GOLO diet thing, people are doing this GOLO diet. They're buying their release pills and all these pills and fat burners. That's all BS. None of this stuff actually works. It's illegal to sell stuff that works over the counter. You cannot go online and buy fat burners or go to the grocery store or vitamin shop or Walgreens or Walmart, wherever, and buy fat burners. That's just not, first of all, it's illegal. And second of all, they don't contain anything. Yeah, they can say it's a fat burner. They can say that all they want, but really all it contains is a lot of caffeine and some other, weird herbs and stuff. All of us are on caffeine. Are we losing weight? I'll wait for an answer. Nope. No, nobody's losing weight on caffeine. So that's not the answer. So definitely don't think you're going to like drink tons of caffeine or take caffeine pills and lose weight. It just does not work like that. So yeah, none of these magic pills work. However, there are medications that work. And number one is a class of medications in the phentermine class, or Adipex. It's a stimulant. It actually does ramp up your metabolism a little, but it's a huge appetite suppressant. Same thing with a lot of these drugs, the Topamax or the Contrave, the Belviq, but that was taken off the market. The Byetta even does it. Semaglutide, the Rybelsus, Ozempic, Saxenda, all those, that whole class of diabetes drugs. There's the combination of Wellbutrin and naltrexone. I think that's called Contrave. I don't prescribe it because they're like thousands of dollars a month. There's another combo pill that's Topamax and a low-dose phentermine. There's a few, but there are prescription drugs for obesity, for weight loss. But you're not going to buy these over the counter. Don't go up to some website and be like, "Hey, I'm going to buy these pills." Like that's not weight loss pills. So yeah, I'm not sure who asked that question. I'm scrolling. I scrolled down. I can't find it, but there's no magic pills for weight loss. The magic pill is doing what we're talking about, cutting your calories or increasing them in some people's case. But those things do help. Yeah. So there's a few more things posted here. Do you think I can hit my weight loss goal in 6 months, or is that too bad? No, you actually could. No, you're going to see loss right away. You said you're 190 pounds. You're going to see weight start coming off, but you're not going to get to 140 pounds in 6 months. You might, I don't know, but don't try to rush this. The slower you lose the weight and the better habits and habits you develop and the better relationship with food you develop, the better for you. So definitely do that. Amina says, "Oh my God, Topamax is awful, terrible side effects." Yeah. These medications, depending on the dose, it all depends on the dose, right? A low dose of something is safe and fine, but a different dose could give you side effects, like water, for example. Well, drinking water every day is fine. But drinking tons of water too quickly can kill you. You can become hyponatremic, have seizures, and actually die. So the poison is in the dose for all these things. Creatine, almost anything that's even benign, like water and air. Stuff that's benign at certain doses. If you took way too much of it or too little of it, it may not do anything, and too much of it, it may injure you or cause death even. Like Tylenol. Perfect example. You take 1 or 2 tablets, it makes your headache go away. You take the whole bottle, it kills your liver, and you die. So the dose matters. Kenya Young, I just joined, so not sure if you answered this, but what is the best diet for weight loss and overall health and well-being? Kenya, I love you. This is the best question all day. No, I'm just kidding. This is a question I get asked every single day. The best diet, Kenya, and I'll link you up to one of my videos called the Leslie diet. I had a patient named Leslie. And this is exactly what he asked me. What is the best diet for me? So I was like, Leslie, the best diet for you is the Leslie diet. It's called the Leslie diet. So Kenya, the best diet for you is the Kenya diet. What I tell people is the reason the reason I say that, I'm not trying to be funny, but the reason I say this is because Kenya, you've been eating what you've been eating for the last 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I don't know how old you are, but your last name is Young. So maybe you're only 20 years old, but whatever you've been eating for the last half of your life, it's probably what you're going to be eating for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years. So I tell people, like, take what you've already been eating, what you enjoy, what you love, what you would die to eat, the stuff you love and enjoy, take that and take away some of it. Just reduce some of the calories out of it. Now, if these are all trigger foods and hyper palatable, hyper processed foods, and you can't stop eating, like if you like wavy potato chips, and you can't eat just 4 or 5, you have to eat the whole bag, then you probably shouldn't be eating that. But there's nothing wrong with eating Lay's wavy potato chips or ice cream or pizza or pop, like whatever it is. I don't really care. But if you eat slightly less, you definitely will lose weight. And the key is, though, eating slightly less. That's the problem. If you're not actually tracking with like a tracking app, it makes it really, really tricky, because your body and the foods you eat, depending on which ones you eat and what you eat, your body can make you eat more than you should. Like, let's say you start taking away 30% of your calories. Instead of eating a whole pizza, I'm eating only, 3/4 of it. Tomorrow, same thing. The next day, your body's like, hey, what's going on? I'm losing some weight. Your body likes to stay at its current weight. It has like this set point that it likes to keep. So it's going to be like, maybe eat a few more almonds here, and like eat a little bit more at breakfast. Maybe one more slice of pizza isn't going to hurt you, but your body gets you back to your body weight. Now, if you're tracking calories, that can't happen, because you hit your 1800 or your 2200 or whatever you're eating. You hit your 2000 calories a day, boom, you stop, you're still losing weight. So I would definitely do that. I don't know if you downloaded my book, Kenya, but I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Shoot me your email address. But definitely, like, read through that. Watch the Leslie video if you want, the Leslie diet. It's right there. But I would recommend, like what, and like, if somebody's like always eating fast food and always eating processed food and always eating junk food, then yeah, my advice to them would be slightly different. It'd be, listen, you need to start adopting a Mediterranean style diet, because overall, with all the research and studies we have, that's the only diet that has shown, first of all, long-term success, but even more importantly, it's shown to reduce cardiovascular mortality, reduce 12 different kinds of cancer, all kinds of things. So I highly recommend some type of Mediterranean style diet, which is fruits, vegetables, olive oil, beans, legumes, uh, lean meats, whole grains, stuff like that. It's not Pop Tarts and chips. But there's nothing wrong with Pop Tarts and chips. And if you weren't on earlier, we were talking about having a good mindset and good relationship with food and not assigning moral value to food. Like, Pop Tarts aren't evil. Kale and quinoa isn't healthy. This food is just food. You can't assign moral value to food and say, well, this food is always healthy and this food is always bad. No, it's just food. It's just carbs, protein, and fat in different ratios. You need more carbs one day, eat a donut. You need more fat one day, I don't know, have some heavy cream, like whatever. You just gotta, learn to use food as a tool and just view it as a tool. Stop looking at it as something you're always doing battle with. Like, a lot of people, they're always at battle with their food, with their diet. Oh my God, I'm going to go to a birthday party. What am I going to eat? It's just going to be cake and ice cream. It's going to be horrible. Like, you always have this horrible relationship with food, like you're battling and fighting food. We don't want to do that at all. So definitely try to do it. If you scroll up a little bit, Kenya, there's a mindset program that's free that I do. You can actually just watch it right now. Just go to drallo.net/mindset. Just scroll up a little, you'll find it, but I'll just type it in again. It teaches you how to have a really good mindset and relationship with food, not to assign moral value to food, how to, use food as a tool, how to get away from that whole food kind of behavior stuff that causes problems, and having a bad relationship with exercise. That's another one that's really bad. Yes, Kenya. So thank you. She said, I have a really bad relationship with food. Yeah, everyone does. I do. People are always battling with food or fighting with food, or, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Food, food, food. If you don't mind, can you share with us what your definition of a bad relationship with food is? Somebody asked me earlier in the chat. You can go back and watch this when it's posted live. But somebody asked earlier, what is your definition of having a bad relationship with food or bad relationship with exercise? And they said, I know that you always talk about having a good relationship with food and exercise. What does that entail? So when this is over, it'll be on YouTube. Go back and watch back that section. I think it was like halfway through this. We're at a minute 10 almost, probably in the 30-minute to 35-minute mark. That was that question. But definitely my definition of a bad relationship with food is like, kind of like what I've been saying. You're always battling food. You view food as the enemy and it's evil and I don't know what to do. And you don't have any confidence around food because food has always been this thing that has made you overweight or made you tired or made you sick or made you this or made you that. So you view it as like the enemy almost. That's what I mean by having a bad relationship with food. You're always viewing food as like this thing you have to be like always chronically fighting with. And we don't want to be doing that. We want to love food. I mean, you got to love food. There's got to be, Kenya, one word answer. What do you love? What food do you love? Like if I gave you $1,000,000 right now and said eat whatever the heck you want, what would that be? I mean, it says mine is eating junk food. I always feel bad after eating it. Yeah. So don't feel bad. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, increase your calories. One way to increase your calories is to eat junk food. Now, you're eating 1,400 calories a day, which is obviously too low. Some people like you struggle with increasing their calories because they feel bad. They're like, oh my God, now I'm eating 1,500. Now I'm eating 1,600. Oh, I can't do this. I can't get to 1,600. What am I going to do? Well, you could actually eat junk food. They're more calorie dense. And eating a small amount, let's say it's Pop Tarts or chips, they're fried carbs, chips, fried nacho chips, whatever. You eat a little bit of it, like, a handful like this is 450 calories, where you're eating like a whole plate of salad and you're still not full and it's only like 200 calories. So that's one thing you can do. Having as maybe slowly add back some junk food. Obviously, if junk food is like a trigger for you, and it's like once you eat it, you can't stop, then get it out of the house. I mean, find something else. But I don't want you to have such a bad relationship with food that you always could never eat junk food. That kind of goes against everything we're saying. I want you to be able to eat junk food, but I need you to like get control of your mind first and get it straight with your mind. Kenya says overeating a lot of junk and processed food. I can't eat just a few of something. I have to eat it all. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what junk food does. It's hyper palatable, which means it tastes amazing. They study this stuff. The companies that make this study it. They even know that the residue that's left over after you eat Doritos on your fingers, it's just so amazing and so good. Like that triggers like something, like it just makes you happy. Like, I ate a bag of potato chips, Doritos, Cool Ranch, and now it's all on my fingers and I'm like, licking my fingers. Even that, they study that. Like, of course they could just bake that taste right into it, but no, they know if they put that powder and the residue on there, it gives you more enjoyment because you're putting stuff in your mouth and you're licking your fingers, and it's like this whole experience. Your fingers turn red, whatever it might be, especially those hot Fritos. But definitely, you gotta. You're making me laugh. She says, oh my God, so true. And she puts some smiling, rolling on the floor faces. But you got to find a happy medium. Like, you don't want to never eat junk food because that's bad. Like, why would you never want to eat junk food? I don't know, eat junk food. It's totally fine. But you got to get to a place in your mind first where you're okay with that. And you're not going to eat the whole bag and you're not going to binge on it. And obviously I'm not a food therapist or psychiatrist, but I see these behaviors all the time, where somebody, and even myself, like especially wavy potato chips. So I keep using that as an example. I love Lay's wavy potato chips or equivalents, generic versions, but you get that crinkle and that crunch and it's super salty and it's just like, man, I just want to keep eating. But definitely, yeah, I hope everybody's learned a bunch. We'll skip the rest of these questions. Maybe we'll grab them next time. But definitely, if you're not on my email list, I usually announce these lives on my email list. We definitely try to do them at least once a month, sometimes twice. It just depends. Amina says, I love pizza. Yeah, who doesn't? I love pizza as well. But this is the thing. You can actually eat pizza that's not bad. Like if you get it thin crust, not a lot of cheese, tons of veggies, you're basically eating a salad that's cooked on thin bread. Like who cares? That's pizza, but it's good. But if you pile on the extra cheese and you pile on the extra toppings that are so full of calories, like more oils and all this stuff, then yeah, it's going to be a high calorie dense pizza. But if you make it thin crust, I mean, the crust is not that much calories, but let's say you're trying to lower your caloric intake, make it thinner crust, more veggies, no cheese, maybe just a little cheese. You've suddenly made a pizza salad that's cooked or something like that, but it's amazing and it's healthy. I mean, what's bad about it? There's nothing bad about it. Kenya says this was very helpful. Thank you, Kenya. That's what I'm here for. So I'm trying to do. So we'll try to do this at least once a month. Get on my email list, Kenya, just so you know when we do this again. Sometimes I go live on Instagram too. On Instagram, though, what's cool about it is I can bring you on and you can ask your question live. So I think we're going to do that next. Maybe I'll try to do that. Let's see, maybe like Sunday night. we'll try to do that. I love veggie mushroom pizza. Oh, I love that too. Mushrooms are great. They have like 0 calories. You can literally eat 3 bowls of mushrooms this big, and you've still consumed about 0 calories. Maybe it's like 3 to 5 calories, but still, you get what I'm saying. Kenya says, I overdo everything. Yeah, I mean, totally, Kenya. But this is the thing. You know it though. You're admitting it. You understand it. You know it. Now you got to find ways to deal with it and make it work for you. And without knowing the details of like your age, height, weight, sex, and all that, and how many calories you're currently eating, it's hard to give you like an exact plan of what to do. But rewatch this and see what I told Amina, because she at first I thought she was eating too many calories, and I told her to eat only 18 or 1900. But then it turns out she was eating very, very few calories, and I gave her a prescription of what to do in that case. So go back and watch this once we're done. Figure out if you're like eating way too many calories or not enough, and then we'll go from there. Amina says, yes, very helpful. Glad I joined. Yeah, I'm glad too. Glad you guys enjoyed this. I think we'll probably end it here, or this has probably been the longest one I've done so far. But yeah, let me know. Definitely, can you go back and watch that? I don't know how long after you end the stream that it becomes live under YouTube, but it shouldn't take that long. Vicky says, thank you for this live and all you do, Dr. Alla. I'll see you next time. Blessings to you and your family. Yeah, next time you're back up in Toledo, let me know. We'll grab coffee or something. Yeah, and if anybody else wants to come out to Toledo, Ohio, that's where it is. That's where it's at, Toledo, Ohio. But Southeast Michigan too. If you guys are up in the Detroit area or Ann Arbor or something, I'll be happy to come out there and meet you. All right, everyone. Have a good evening if it's evening or nighttime in your part of the world, and we will talk later. Send me, email me your questions. If you're on my email list, you can just reply to any of my emails. I save them and I have them in a file here like we did today. But yeah, just shoot me your questions. And if you want like more details, like Amina and Kenya, if you guys want a little more detailed, like, one-on-one stuff, let me know. We'll definitely make it work. Oh, Amina says, I'm in PA, Pennsylvania. I don't know where in PA, but I used to live in Philadelphia when I was a kid. I think I was in 1st or 2nd grade at the time. I think it was 2nd grade, but I used to live in Philadelphia. Don't recommend it. I'm just kidding. If you're from there, it's cool. I'm sure there are nicer parts of it. We didn't live in a good part. We were little. It was bad. But anyways, that's all I got for you. We'll catch up with you guys later. Take care. And I'll post some more links. We'll do more live streams for sure. And we'll definitely do an Instagram one. Just if you don't have me on Instagram, those are really fun because I can bring you on. It's just dr.alo. That's my username on Instagram, dr.alo. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good evening. Oh God, she's from Philly. I'm so sorry. My dad was going to Temple University at the time. I was in 2nd grade. We were in a really bad part of town. We got beat up at the bus stop every day. Our bikes got stolen. I've since gone back to Philadelphia, and the better parts of it are super nice and people are super friendly. But where we grew up was not. So that's all I got to say. Take care, guys. Good night.